haven't
The
received
only thing
yesterday.
that may pop up, I'm
Yeah.
just telling you, because now I see all these speakers and everything. Like if they start with overtime or something, or almost one like after 3 o'clock, I'm just gonna have them send it to you. There's
Okay.
an extra.
Yeah, we're probably not gonna get there till 3:30.
But I see there's a lot of speakers.
Yeah, yeah.
So if there's anything, I'm just gonna tell them, just send it to you.
Okay.
And
All right.
that's it.
Okay, that's fine. Yep.
Oh,
Kevin.
and one other,
Yeah.
I didn't do that one.
Yeah.
Maggie texted me.
Yeah.
The certificates out of the office.
She told me I got that yesterday. Neil, I believe, right?
And I gave it to her. This perfect.
I went to the office, then do that phone call.
Whatever. I've never
Neither have I.
done so. But they say it's easy.
Okay.
I swear, it's hard for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
There's no guarantee it's still there.
I'm all over it. Hey, Kevin. This is my son, Kevin. Kevin, this is Jay Mesnick. How are you?
I'm sorry, my kid lost.
Thank you so much. Jay's father, Melvin, visited down in Florida. So, they were both Masons together a lot. Melvin went to go there for sports. Bills and everything. Tom Brady would be there from the Buffalo Bills. And our moms were in the kitchen making chicken baked beans, baked salad. Dave Dryden, who was Ken Dryden's brother, played for Buffalo. Oh yeah, the little paper clip. Dan Miller, who was a sportscaster in Buffalo, will be the MC. Dan Darrow was there, number 10, a quarterback. Yeah. So,
I can't believe it.
and then we go upstairs to the.
Because I never forget.
And then we go upstairs to the live. We had a tie. So. Okay, next time you go here, coach of the shift. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, if I can have your attention, please. If everyone can please take their seats, we're about to begin. Ladies and gentlemen, if I could ask everyone to please take their seats, I'd appreciate it. Thank you. And before we begin services for Harold Halpern, yeah, please. I have the ones for the immediate family. Can I give you the ones for the grandkids right now? Or I have one in a different country. I can put on the immediate family if you want to do the grandkids. Here, I'll give you some more. Here. We're going to start in just a few moments. Welcome, everyone. Before we begin, I'm just going to ask if you have a cell phone, if you wouldn't mind either just putting the cell phone on the vibrate mode or just turning it off during the service, we would appreciate it. At this time, we are just going to do the ancient ritual of Kriya with the immediate family.
Cholomer, Kra, Vamar, Maekra. Kolabasar Chatzir Vechol Chasdo Ketzitz Hasadeh. Yavesh Chatzir Navel Tzitz, Kiruach Adonai Nav Shabo. Achen Chatzir Ha'am, Yavesh Chatzir Navel Tzitz, Udvar Eloheinu Yakum Leolam. A voice says, cry out, and I say, what shall I cry? All flesh is grass, and all its beauty is like the flower of the field. The grass withers, the flower fades when a wind of the eternal blows upon it. Surely the people are grass. The grass withers, the flower fades, but the word of our God shall endure forever. We feel the absence, the loss that death has taken our beloved Harold Halpern, and our friends grieve. In their darkened world, there is lamentation. And through the silence of their tears and the loneliness they feel, we pray that they find us, their loving friends, their community, to hear them, O God, and to be with them for Harold's love that united us in life, and which will remain with us eternally, for his companionship that we shared along life's path, and which continues through the tenderness of memory, for the gifts of his heart and mind, for his humor, his soul, for his compassion and presence that brought us joy and happiness, and is now a precious remembrance. For all these and more, we give our thanks to God. In times of grief such as this, we listen to the voice of our sacred scriptures that bring us the renewing message of God's nearness. They tell us of our kinship with the Creator, in light as in darkness, in joy as in sorrow, and in life as in death. Ashrei Aish asher lo halach be'atzat resha'im u'v'derech hata'im lo amad u'v'moshav litzim lo yashav. Ki im b'torat Adonai chefzo, v'torato yegeh yomam v'layla, v'haya ke'etz shetul al palgei mayim, asher piryo yiten b'ito, v'alehu lo yibol, v'al asher ya'aseh yatzliach. Happy are those who have not followed the counsel of the wicked, or taken the path of sinners, or joined the company of the insolent. Rather, the teaching of God is their delight, and they study that teaching day and night. They are like a tree planted beside streams of water that yields its fruit in season, whose foliage never fades, and whose fruit always flourishes. Shir lemalot, esainai el heharim, me'ayin yavo ezri, ezri me'im Adonai. Osei shamayim va'aretz, ayiten lamut raglecha, ayinu m'shomrecha. Hine lo yanum velo yishan shomer Yisrael. Adonai shomrecha, Adonai tzilcha, al yad yeminecha. Yomam hashemesh, lo yakeka v'yoreach b'alayla. Adonai yishmorcha mikol ra, yishmor et nafshecha. Adonai yishmor tzedcha uvoecha, me'ata ve'ad olam. A song of ascent. I lift my eyes to the mountains. What is the source of my help? My help comes from Adonai, maker of heaven and earth. God will not let your foot give way. Your protector will not slumber. See, the protector of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. God is your guardian. God is your protection at your right hand. The sun will not strike you by day, nor the moon by night. God will guard you from all harm. God will guard your soul, your going and coming, now and forever. Continue with the familiar words of Psalm 23, and if you'd like to join me in the English translation after the Hebrew, you can find it in your brochures. Adonai roi lo echsar bino desha yar betseni. Ame menuchot yanach aleni. Nafshi yeshavev yancheni b'magli tzedek lema'an shemo. Gam ki elech begeit salmavet. Lo yirara ki ata imadi. Shivtecha mishantecha hem yanachamuni ta'aroch lefanai shulchan neged sorarai. Deshanta v'shemen roshi kosi rivayah. Ach tov v'chesed yerdefuni kol yemei chayai. V'shavti b'veit Adonai. Le'orech yamim. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the eternal of the Lord forever. It's truly a privilege to have known Harold and to have spent time with him, but I am even more privileged for the opportunity to welcome words from Julia, Catherine, and John Barnes' grandchildren here this morning, or afternoon, excuse me.
Hi, everyone. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Julia, and I am a grandchild of Harold Halpern, or as I knew him, Saba, which means grandfather in Hebrew, which I'm sure many of you know. I'm sure that other folks who are speaking today will have many beautiful and consequential things to say about what my grandfather meant to them, so I'll leave that to them. I simply want to share with you the things I loved about Saba. First, my grandfather possessed an insatiable love of learning. In 2019, I shared that I was moving to Colorado to pursue my master's degree in journalism. He was thrilled. Unbeknownst to me, he had just begun covering Israel issues for the Sarasota Herald Tribune, a local Jewish newspaper. Throughout my time living in Colorado, Saba emailed me almost every published article of his, and I read them, impressed by his journalistic talents that far surpassed my own, let me say. And now knowing that his words are immortalized in print is a great comfort and something that I will cherish. Another thing that I will remember is his sharp wit. A few years ago, while Saba was in DC visiting for a conference, I spent time with him. I caught up with him on the happenings in our lives and mentioned that my mom and my stepdad, Joel, were on their way to Buffalo for their 40th high school reunion together. Well, I'm sure she's excited, he said, laughing. She's probably much more attractive than everyone else she graduated with. Yes, he said that. In that moment, I seized on the rare opportunity to teach him a new term, which was stunt. Ah, I see, he said, without missing a beat. Your mom is going to stunt on everyone at her high school graduation. In the classic rom-com, My Big Fat Greek Wedding, which is a movie I related to a lot as a Jewish kid with a loud family, but now that I'm engaged, it bears even more weight. The father, Gus, has a unique habit. He says, "Give me a word, any word, and I'll show you that the word of that root is Greek," he would say. And Saba had a very similar talent. I would ask him about anywhere in the world, anywhere at all, and he would be able to connect me with a cousin, family friend, or a former work colleague that lived nearby to wherever I was going. So I called him during my final semester of grad school and told him that I was taking a trip to Southeast Alaska. I was going to interview people for a long-form story I was writing about forest conservation and indigenous rights. So imagine my surprise from the other end of the phone when he said, "Oh, you'll have to reach out to my friend. She lives in Juneau and is part of Congregation Sukkot Shalom." After I got off the phone, I said to my fiance, Nick, "Of course. In a city settled by the Russian Orthodox, my Saba knows the only Jewish person in town." Even at 88, Saba got to know people, kept in touch with old friends, and saw the world. And to me, he is the paragon of what it means to have lived a good life. And I will remember his lessons forever. Thank you.
Saba was the best grandfather I could have asked for. Navigating this loss has been extremely challenging. I keep asking myself, what will I do without my Saba? He was my favorite person to share good news with and the person I turned to when times were tough. Whatever the circumstances may be, he greeted me with a smile, with open arms, and words of wisdom. I reread his articles, interviews, and our text and email exchanges from over the years in hopes of finding some sort of comfort in our happy memories. There's one particular letter I found, a beautifully written letter he sent me ahead of my college graduation that I just can't stop reading. He was an excellent journalist, so it would be quite selfish of me not to share it with you all today. The letter reads in part, "Now you march on into life outside of the cluster of family and university. As always, there will be ups and downs. Be joyful in your ups, and when down, conquer all problems with fierce determination. I am eager to follow your life of independence, to give you encouragement when needed and applause for all you do. My love for you has no limits. Enjoy life, and may all you do be fulfilling." I cherish this letter for so many reasons, but I love the last line in particular because it reflects his unconditional love for his family and his eagerness to live life to the fullest, which he certainly did. Rereading this letter gave me a new sense of purpose. I hope to channel his passion for learning and his resilience when faced with challenge. I want to embody his drive, compassion, and zest for life with all that I do, and I encourage you all to do the same. My heart aches without my Saba, but I'm so grateful for the 23 years I got to spend with him. I know that his spirit will live on through his children, grandchildren, friends, and colleagues who he impacted throughout his 88 years. Saba will be greatly missed by so many, but he will always have a place in our hearts.
Hi, I'm John. I'm one of Saba's grandchildren. Harold Halpern, or as I knew him, Saba, was one of the smartest and the most supportive grandfather I could ask for. I always admired how Saba never slowed down in his life, whether it was taking trips to Israel in his late 80s or, like Julie and Catherine have said, writing articles for the Herald Tribune in Sarasota. When I think of Saba, a few core memories come to mind. During my childhood, he would visit my home in Arlington every June to attend a conference for Jewish lawyers. I remember every single morning before school, I was looking forward to seeing him, but before I could even get to him, he was already done with breakfast, reading a newspaper, and ready to take on the day. So I think that just shows he never really, truly wasted a moment. And as a child, I truly cherished the time we spent walking around museums in DC during his visits. Another memory that comes to mind when I think of Saba is me and Catherine's visit to his acting class in 2016. He had been taking an acting class in Sarasota and invited me and my sister to come to his class while we were staying with him and Nana for spring break. During the class, he impersonated one of his fellow classmates for a scene, and at that moment I realized, in addition to being a lawyer, writer, academic, and grandfather, Saba was also an exquisite actor. On a car ride later in that trip, him and Nana fake fought in Hebrew gibberish and had me and Catherine convinced that a serious altercation was about to take place. I cannot play the video for you, but it consisted of huzzah, huzzah, ah, da, 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 da. And while writing the speech, I took it upon myself to rewatch the video and could not stop laughing, so his commitment to the bit never fails to make me smile. As I mentioned earlier, Saba was so supportive of me and my aspirations, specifically as a filmmaker. I'm not sure if the word supportive even covers all of his encouragement. My junior year of high school, my documentary, A Passover Story, was selected to screen at a film festival in AMC Times Square, New York City. Saba was heavily featured in the film. He's the heart and soul of the whole documentary. So he flew out to New York solely just to watch this 7-minute short film screen at the festival. And I can say that it was the experience of a lifetime to sit next to him while his face was projected in front of an audience of hundreds. His personality lit up the screen. At the end of the film, I asked him to stand up while the audience applauded him and my other family members, and I feel comforted knowing that an audience of hundreds was able to laugh, connect, and applaud my Saba. Saba also cared so deeply about our family being in touch with our Jewish faith. Our annual in-person Passover Seders and phone calls on the High Holy Days are memories I know I'll think of for years to come. During my first year of college, I felt lost and disconnected from school. Saba would frequently check in on me. Some of my favorite phrases from our phone calls include, "Hello, my boy," and "All right, but you're doing well in your classes." We would often connect over my appreciation for the local Jewish organizations on campus like Hillel and Chabad. Similar to Julia's story, to no surprise, when I provided the name of my Chabad rabbi, Saba, with zero other knowledge, immediately said, "Oh, I attended one of their parents' weddings." Saba was always moving and always learning. His life achievements are staggering, and I hope that one day can achieve even a fraction of his number of accomplishments. To end this, my mom, Lisa Halpern, has asked me to share an email exchange she had with Saba about the potential title of his memoir after a hurricane hit his home this past fall. I think this exchange perfectly encapsulates everything about Saba. My mom said, "I think you can start writing your book now. A pandemic, 2 broken hips, and a hurricane, or solo travel at age 88 during a pandemic." To which Saba replied, "How about courage and survival at age 88? To which my mom replied, "Courage and survival at age 88, a story of a pandemic, solo travel overseas, 2 broken hips, and a hurricane." Thank you.
John and Catherine and Julia, we're so moved by your words, and we welcome next to speak Harold's son, Bruce, to share his own reflections with us.
Good afternoon. I'm Bruce Halpern. Thank you all for being here today to honor my father. Dad grew up in Buffalo, the son of Mary and Julius Halpern, brother of Ralph Halpern. Both boys spent time working as young men at Halpern Pharmacy, my grandfather's drugstore and soda fountain located at 563 Best Street, corner of Sherman. The store was located within walking distance of their Humboldt Park neighborhood family home. Humboldt Park is where Dad ice skated as a child, walking there with skates on, as the story goes. Some of my earliest memories from the early 60s are from skating there with him on the round fountain rink in front and the hockey rink in back behind the casino. Today, the park is known as Martin Luther King Park. Dad attended public school number 39, corner of High Street and Timon, from kindergarten until 8th grade. He graduated from Fosdick Maston High School, which is now known as City Honor School and located across the street from War Memorial Stadium, then known as Civic Stadium. Dad went on to the University at Buffalo, class of 55. Then the University at Buffalo Law School, class of 58, the same year that I came into this world, 1958. As a young man in the 60s, Dad practiced law in Niagara Falls. In the 70s, Dad relocated to Buffalo, where he would remain in practice for a total of 65 years. His work ethic and search for knowledge was never ending. Dad was active in many professional and community organizations and received leadership awards for his numerous contributions. Of course, my memories are sports related, like a lot of fathers and sons. Bills games in Buffalo. At War Memorial Stadium and Rich Stadium. Dad visiting me in Miami, 1983. The Orange Bowl. Bills defeating the Dolphins in overtime. That was a fun day. Going to Sabres games together at the Odd. And also 2 trips to Toronto's Maple Leaf Gardens. Good memories. I can vividly picture Dad watching my youth hockey, high school, college hockey games. Those memories are etched in stone. Dad, you will be loved and remembered forever.
Our last speaker, we welcome Ken Franziak, friend and colleague of Harold's.
Thank you. Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you, family, and thank you for the opportunity to come here and speak before you. So, my name is Ken Franziak. I'm a longtime friend and I guess a learner of Harold's. He taught me so much in life. And we'll talk about that in a minute, but I'm honored and proud to be here. I'd like to start off by thanking Susan, the entire family, Rabbi, for the opportunity in both this humbling and very special eulogy. While I'm not part of Harold's immediate family, I've always viewed my relationship with him as a genuine love of family and trust. His presence in my life as a mentor, having worked side by side for him for the last 33 years, has been a true pleasure. Today we're here to honor a very good man who has touched and enriched lives all over the world and the people in this room. On a personal note, when Bruce called me at the end of the week, he spoke to me about Harold's passing. And I keep a journal of things that in my life that I hope when I pass, my sons have the opportunity to read, keep moments. And I was on one of my last journals, and for some reason they always start on a good note and end on a good note. And I had one piece of paper left. And I went in my library and I sat down and I wanted to write about Harold. And I attempted, and I came to a conclusion that this last page is going to be about all the fun, all the smiles, all the humor, and all the things he taught me and everybody in this room. So, I'm going to try to put everybody at ease. This is not going to be a sad speech. Harold and I had actually talked about this date a number of times, and he said, just make sure that it's happy. So please, for myself, for you all, let's take a moment and shift our thoughts to all the fun things that he made you laugh, made you, surprised you, his jokes, his sense of humor. Whether you knew him as Dad or Grandpa, Harold or Mr. Halpern, he was exactly the same guy. He was a trusted friend. He had a great sense of humor and a great sense of gab. He was proud of his career, he was proud of his friends, he was proud of his faith. So if you indulge me for a few minutes, I'd like to cover a few stories that talk about each one of those. But I'm going to focus on 4 things: his faith, his family, his friends, and his career. Let's start with career. I met Harold in 1990. My grandfather and I had decided to start a business, and right after we had started it, the gentleman that was our counsel had passed away. My grandfather called up his very dear friend, Albert Ratner, in Cleveland, and said, we need a good counsel. And that's when Harold entered my life. Our company consisted of a few people, but Harold was with me till He just passed away, always providing counsel and always being there. We had a promise we made to one another. I promised him and he promised me. I said, "You can never leave me, and I will never leave you. We'll always be there for each other." As our business grew, my relationship with Harold also grew, until one day, very early on in the relationship, he gave me a call. He informed me that he was picking me up at our office in Wheatfield, and we were going to lunch in Buffalo. And he said, "I'm buying and I'm driving." Now, if you recall when you were younger and you got called to your parents' kitchen or the principal's office and you knew that dread of what is this meeting going to be. And he gave me a whole 24 hours to sit there and dread this meeting. So he picked me up and we drove. We had a wonderful lunch at Chef's. And I'm like, when is he going to drop this bomb on me? What is he going to tell me? He gets in the car, we're driving halfway back, and he goes on to tell me that he is now retiring. This is the first time. There's going to be multiple stories about his retirement coming up. He's going to retire. I could see in his face he was looking for me to say, "Harold, that's great news." But he had taught me too well that thus far. So I looked at him and I said, "You made a promise to me." And I said, "That promise I'm holding you to. So you have to find your replacement." That speech bought me another 2.5 decades with Harold. So now we can fast forward to his second retirement. Again, he goes, "I'm going to take you to Zeb's, and I'm going to buy you chocolate chip cookies. I love chocolate chip cookies from Zeb's." And he had the way of getting me, I'm like, "All right." And he goes, "I'm buying." Now I know I'm in trouble. I walk over to HR, and I asked our HR director, and she goes, "Yep, he's posted his job." I go, "He's going to retire again." So he goes there, we sit at Zeb's, he talks me in to this big retirement party. So we go to Westwood Country Club, invite all his friends, and we have this big party. I specifically stood there at the end of the party and looked him in the eye and said, "There's no more retirement parties. We're not having any more parties." Harold went on to retire approximately for 6 months, and then he decided to call me and say, "I'll be back this summer, have my desk ready, and I'm coming back to work." He came back and he was a little upset because obviously we had hired a legal department, he was gone, and he wanted to know where his desk was. So his desk was in a smaller office. To this day, to a month ago, he reminds me of that smaller office. After the first year, he kept coming back and forth, sometime with Susan, and they would stay at an apartment. So he invited me down to see their new home, and I came into the home, and all in the front room and on the kitchen, Harold had set up a mini office. He called it his Sarasota office. And I felt bad for Susan because there were file boxes everywhere, there was a computer, scanner, printer. He was amazing at technology. I wanted to go back to rotary dial phones. So what he memorialized his Florida office by putting a big map on our wall in the center of our office with a yellow dot on Sarasota. And people would walk around the office and say, "I didn't think you did anything down in Florida." I go, "No, it's our Sarasota office. It's a long story. Don't get me started." This brings me up to his third retirement. Now we're going back to Zeb's for cookies. I said, he can't retire 3 times. There's absolute no way he can retire 3 times. By the end of that lunch, I had my cookies. He had talked me into another retirement party, which we had at the Grapevine restaurant for him. All right, so this is the very, very last retirement. So a number of years ago, he came up in the wintertime, took me to dinner, and he said, I'm moving on, I'm going to retire permanently. And I'm not coming back, and I'm not doing any more work and all that. And I wished him all the best. He then went on to say, "Where's my retirement party going to be?" I went on to explain to him, Harold, you have a choice of two places, Arby's or the Olympic restaurant. He chose the Olympic restaurant because he could get a tuna fish sandwich. His persistency in his career was a cornerstone of how he lived his entire life. He left a permanent mark on the world in everything he touched. And with his absence, there's a great void, which he'd be proud if we all looked at one another and helped fill that void of all the great things he did. If faith was his anchor, friendship his crew, his family was his ship. Harold's underlying devotion and love of his family I saw every day, day in and day out. He would come in and tell me about emails. He would come in and tell me about events. He was so very proud of all the accomplishments his family did. But he was a protector and a warrior. And he would come in and say, I'm tired. I spent all night worrying about this or worrying about that. I don't know if you know, but Susan and Harold are movie stars. There was a movie that was put together featuring a lot of the family and family from all over the world. And he used that technology to go out and that technology to research all people from all over the world and brought them together. And the premiere was here in Buffalo, and I never saw him smile as much as the day of his 75th birthday and that film event. He had so much pride and so much love for everything. It was fueled by a thirst of knowledge and his love of heritage and faith. His love of being with his family could be seen in the photos that are strung across the kitchen at Susan and Harold's house. Whatever role he played in our lives, these qualities came to him naturally. He was the very best. He was too big of a hero and legend in all our eyes for me to specifically and unemotionally discuss how much he meant to us all. We are the luckiest people for being in a circle of life with him and experience his energy, compassion, brilliance. I'd like to leave you a couple more stories. So I don't know if a number of you knew, but Harold had a exceptional sense of humor, and he could always inject things. So one day we were sitting in my office, and he brought up that when he was a young man, he had to have radiation treatment on his face when he was young. And he went on to explain, Ken, I believe this has given me superhero capabilities. And I said, what do you mean? He goes, well, I believe I can see into the future, and thereby I can see what the Super Bowl score is going to be on the office pool, and I'm going to win it. So those little things would just come out of nowhere. As he turned to a new chapter with Susan, his convictions were truly his soul and the way he touched so many people. It was truly the foundation of him and his being. More than anything, it defined him and molded him into the man, the father, the friend that we all knew. He was an exceptional judgment of character, his strength for overcoming the most difficult challenges and times. I'm sure a number of you could see it every week, wherever you were, whether temple, at home, or out in the street. It was the foundation of all he embraced, his faith and his love of his community and his philanthropic community-based missions. Let us celebrate Harold's faith and how that faith led him to so many accomplishments and took such great pride in seeing all of those accomplishments. We all benefited from his hard work, whether it was on the legislative side, judicial side, human interest side, or just his outpouring of love. To share you just one last story as I finish up here. So Harold had invited me down to Florida, and him and his friend Nathan Benderson had an idea to create affordable housing in the Sarasota area. We were driving back, and there's a large roundabout in Sarasota. Harold and I were in one car. Nate was in the middle of the circle, traffic circle, multi-lanes, multi-cars on a bicycle. I recognized that my side of the car was being used as a human body shield so that nobody hit Nate. I looked in horror at Harold because someone was about to broadside him because we weren't going the speed of the traffic circle, we were going the speed of Nate and his bike. Eventually, Nate was able to safely move out of harm's way, and in Harold's unique sense of humor, as he looked at my face in panic, he looked at me and said, as he slammed on the gas, "We got to get moving. We got to beat Nate to breakfast." So in closing, I'd like to thank you all for the opportunity to celebrate Harold, my friend. I'd like to thank Harold for the benefits of 33 years of our relationship. He's been my friend my entire adult life, and I'm going to greatly miss him. Harold, on behalf of all your family and friends here today, and many others throughout the world that you touch, thank you for your great memories, your great relationship, your life experiences. To everyone in attendance, when you see Susan, or you see any of the family or extended family, please don't be sorrow. Remember some of these fun moments with a laugh and a smile. Harold, may you rest in peace with your departed friends. You'll never be forgotten. Shalom. Shaver. Shali. Goodbye, my dear friend. Thank you. Thank you, Rabbi.
I think many of us know that Harold was an avid reader, and so I thought it appropriate to share a poem here. This is True Greatness by C.E. Flynn. A man is as great as the dreams he dreams, as great as the love he bears, as great as the values he redeems, and the happiness he shares. A man is as great as the thoughts he thinks, as the worth he has attained, as the fountains at which his spirit drinks, and the insight he has gained. A man is as great as the truth he speaks, as great as the help he gives, as great as the destiny he seeks, as great as the life he lives. Truly, it's our privilege to hear your voices, Ken, Bruce, John, Catherine, and Julia, and all of the family that's here to be able to share in this relationship with your Saba, with your dad, with your brother, your husband, your family. Harold was brilliant. He was genuinely funny, as we've heard, engaged, curious, and full of energy. He loved to explore the world, to learn and to share his stories and learn the stories possessed by whomever he happened to be speaking with. He was an optimist who was always looking to learn more, to do more, devoted to his family, devoted to his profession, devoted to his people. Harold was simply exceptional, as we've heard from all of those who've spoken. He was deeply Jewish, passionate and connected to our community, and we all feel a loss here in Harold's death. All the more so we feel gratitude, though, for his life and those moments of happiness and joy, that laugh and smile that stays with us. I only arrived in Buffalo 8 months ago, but I was able to meet Harold through his involvement in our temple, even while he was in residence in Sarasota. And it was apparent to me in that short time that here was a person who was genuine. He was a person who really cared. Here was a person who was devoted not only to me and to our community at Temple Beth Zion, he was devoted to all three of his congregations, Temple Beth Tzedek here in Buffalo as well, and to Temple Beth Sholem in Sarasota. He was devoted to his people, and we grieve with you today as a community. We spoke last night of how Harold would host Rabbi Goldberg's family for Erev Rosh Hashanah and discuss his sermons. And I appreciated learning this as Harold's brother Ralph still to this day continues to send me little comments and statements on things that I've said. Prodding my own logic, I imagine Harold just as sharp with Rabbi Goldberg. Harold was devoted to Israel. He liked to tell the story of how he sat with his parents beside a radio as the UN voted on the partition plan of 1947, and his mother recorded how each state voted. He was a Zionist all his life. Many of us are aware, it was just shared, in fact, a moment ago, that he wrote a monthly column for the Herald Tribune newspaper in Sarasota on Israel. And the Israeli rabbi Daniel Hartman puts it this way. He says, "To be Jewish is to feel an obligation to be exceptional. We feel the obligation in our bones to not only be exemplars to our families and our communities, but to do good for the world, to be its light, and to lead us on a path to redemption." Perhaps telling in the fact that he retired so many times, we read in the oldest wisdom of the rabbis, "Lo alecha hamlacha ligmor velo ata ben chorin levatel mimenu." It's not our obligation to complete the task, yet neither are we free to desist from it. And I'd say that Harold struggled to desist from it. I'd say he also got more done, more tasks with the time that he stole from his sleep. He operated with energy all his life and accomplished so much in his time. He devoted himself additionally as a philanthropist through his legal work, serving on the boards of so many organizations, and especially devoted to our city, Buffalo, where he himself speaks of putting down deep roots where his heart resides. He was devoted to helping those who were in need with their issues. Some of you might be aware that Harold's family welcomed exchange students during their time and world travelers and dignitaries through the Buffalo World Hospitality Network. Most of all, he was devoted to his family. We know he loved you. He loved each and every one of you. He was so deeply proud, and he'd tear up as he kveled about your accomplishments. You gave him so much nachas. Hang on to the love that you have for him in your hearts for all your days, so that you may have long life. Hold on to his words, his wisdom, his humor, his laugh. Keep it going like a Halpern Seder. Let it nourish you like a warm bowl of chicken soup. And let his presence be with you still and take care of you just as he loved to take care of you. For the memory of Harold Halpern, known among our people as Shalom Moshe, Moses, our leader, Shalom, peace, for our friend, our Saba, our brother, our husband, our father. For a great man, we rise for the memorial prayer. El Maleh Rachamim. Maleh Rachamim, Shochen Bamromim, Hamatzeh Menucha Nechona, Tachat Kanfei Hashchina, Im Keroshim Utorim, כזוהר הרקיע מזהירים, נשמת שלום משה בן יהודה וחיה מרים, שלח לעולמו. מעל רחמים יסתירהו בצדק כנפיו לעולמים. ויצרור ביצרו החיים את נשמתו. אדוני הוא נחלתו. וינוח בשלום על משכבו. ונאמר Amen. Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to Harold Halpern, known among our people as Shalom Moshe ben Yehuda v'Chaya Miriam, who has entered eternity. God of mercy, let him find refuge in your eternal presence, and let his soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is his inheritance. May he rest in peace. And let us say, Amen.
All of the Shiva information is listed in your pamphlets, and it's also listed on our website. And at this time, if I could have the pallbearers please step forward. If everyone would please remain standing. Also, if you're going out to the cemetery, if you could bring your pamphlets with you, it has the cottage prayer, so you'll be able to follow along at the cemetery. And if you're going with us in procession to Forest Lawn, we just ask that you please put your bright lights and your four-way flashers on. Thank you.